Hello, first grade Cougars. This is Mrs. Belatesh again, and I wanted to just go over a couple of our words that we used last week. First of all, observe. We use that even in kindergarten. Observe is to look closely, but not just look, right? We can use all of our senses, and right now we're really using our sense of hearing. Vibrations. Vibrations is when something moves back and forth very, very quickly. And when something has vibrations, it makes sound. Okay, we're going to continue with our investigation of sound right now. Okay, so boys and girls, we just talked about sound and vibrations, and I have something here called a tuning fork. So it's called a fork because it looks like a fork, right? And it's called a tuning fork because this particular instrument vibrates at a very specific speed. And each one, I have all these different tuning forks. They're all different sizes and weights, and each one vibrates at a very specific speed. And what I do is I take this block of wood and I'm going to hit the tuning fork on the wood, and then I'm going to let you listen to it. But before we do, look at the tuning fork. I know I'm kind of moving around a little bit, but it's not vibrating. It's still. There's no sound coming from it. Now, I'm going to hit the wood and I'm going to see, you're going to see if you can notice something. Do you see? I don't know if it's hard, you can see it, but the tuning fork was moving back and forth. And you know what I can do if I want it to stop? I touch it. Stops. I'm going to see if you can listen to it a little closer. Can you hear it? I'm trying to put it up near the volume. Try again. Ooh. And when I touch it, it stops. Now, if I hit this tuning fork and then I put this ping pong ball near it, the tuning fork will push away on the ping pong ball. Watch. Boys and girls, I'm not doing anything, but the tuning fork is moving the ping pong ball. Let's try a different tuning fork and see if it pushes away at the same amount. Oh, here's a really big tuning fork. Whoa! And I make it stop. So this is called a tuning fork. It vibrates very, very fast. If I want it to stop vibrating, I hold it and I make it stop moving. Okay, I have one more thing I want you to see in terms of proving to you how fast this tuning fork is moving. I have a cup of water, and I'm going to make my tuning fork make a lot of sound, and then we're going to see what happens to the water. Ow! It sprayed all over me. Could you see that? Let's do it again. It was messy. Whoa! Did you see that? So the moving or vibrating tuning fork splashed the water in the cup. All right, so boys and girls, I'm giving you a super close-up of something. This is something called a tone generator. And I want you to see that I have a cup, actually a lid to a cup, on the tone generator, but it is not touching the speaker. So there is a space between the speaker and the lid. And in the lid, I have some rice. And this tone generator makes a funny sound, and I'm going to turn it on. And I can make the sound really low pitch, and I can make it really high. And that's interesting, but I want you to look really closely at the rice. Did you see some of the rice start to move? Let's look. Watch really closely. Do you see the rice dancing a little bit? That rice is moving because of the sound. The sound waves move the cup lid and moves the rice. Sound is vibration, and vibration is sound. All right, so boys and girls, let's start by making sure we have our science notebook and this packet of science notebook masters that we used last week. We're going to use the next page, the one that says hearing sounds. And I thought it was just a little big last week, so I'm going to get a pair of scissors and I'm going to trim off the bottom and I'm going to trim off the top just a little bit so it doesn't stick out of the notebook. And now I'm going to get a glue stick and I'm going to glue this into the next page of my science notebook. So for my science notebook, I have how do we learn? And then the next on the back of that one was what is sound or making sounds? And so now I have a blank page and I'm going to glue that right on the next blank page. You might have done some work in your notebook, but mine is the next blank page. Now I'm going to put the date. For me, the date is September 3rd, 2020. You might be doing this on a different day, and you probably are. Put the date that you are doing this lesson, okay? All right, now the question is, what kinds of sounds are easy to identify? Identify means to know what they are, okay? So what kind of sounds are easy to know what they are, to identify? Okay, so boys and girls, we're gonna do a little experiment. I'm going to drop some things on the table, and I want you to listen really closely to the sound they make and see if we can identify what the objects are just based on their sound. Okay? And I'm gonna drop them low enough so you can't see them, right? You can't see them, but you just can hear them. Okay, the first one I'm gonna drop is this. Are you ready? I'll do it again. That one's hard to know. Guess what it is? Tape dispenser. When you heard that sound, did you think, oh, it's a tape dispenser. I know what that is. I didn't. I didn't know. I mean, I knew it was a tape dispenser, but I didn't know that sound really well. Okay, here's another one. I bet you knew what that was, right? What do you think it is? Yeah, it's a coin. Listen again. That is a sound we've heard before, right? We've all heard a coin falling on the table or falling on the floor. We know what that sounds like. Okay, here's another one. Try again. Well, that's a pencil. It sounds a little familiar, but it's not as clear as the sound of the coin, right? Okay, here's another one. It's a metal spoon. Sounds a little familiar, but not as easy as the coin. Okay, and here's the last one. I think you probably got that one. It's a ball, a tennis ball. So we've all played with balls before. We know what the sound is when they bounce, right? All right, so let's fill out that paper together. Okay, so the question is, what kind of sounds are easy to identify? So for me, the sounds that are easy to identify are ones that I hear all the time, right? I've heard a coin hitting the table before. I haven't really heard a tape dispenser fall down. So I'm gonna draw a picture of a coin, and I'm gonna label it coin, and I'm going to write sounds that we know. And it's gonna look like that. Sounds that we know. And I'm gonna draw, if you have more time, you can draw like a picture. I don't know, my coin has George Washington on the front. I'm not a very good artist, so I'm not gonna do a very good job. I mean, I could spend more time, but we're gonna go on. So the sounds that we know are the sounds that we can identify. Okay, boys and girls, we're gonna use this other page too. So we're gonna trim it so that we have space to glue it into our notebook. This one is called Hearing Sounds. What information does sound give us? So I'm gonna glue this on the back of that last page. I'm gonna glue it on the back. I've got my glue stick, I've got my paper, and I don't need to put the date because it's the same date. I'm still doing it on the same day. Okay, what information does sound give us? So, I'm gonna do another quick little experiment. Okay, so boys and girls, again, I'm gonna drop something and I want you to listen to it. Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna drop a piece of wood. And I'm gonna drop another piece of wood. What do you know about those two pieces of wood? Did you say that one is small and the other is big? Yes, because a small piece of wood makes a smaller sound, but a big piece of wood makes a bigger sound. So when you hear sounds, sometimes you'll know whether it means that something is big or small, or close up or far away. Okay, so boys and girls, I'm gonna write in my notebook, what information does sound give us? And what I did was I drew a picture of the little wood, and I said small wood, low sound or soft sound. And then I had a big picture of the wood, and I said a loud sound. And what I wrote was, so the question was, what information does sound give us? For me, it told me how big something is. But it could also tell you how far away something is, or whether it was a big instrument or a small instrument. Write down what you think sound can tell us. Okay, so boys and girls, I want to finish today with just a little review of some of the vocabulary we talked about. So we've already talked about observe, vibrations, and sound. And today I want to talk about a sound source. So right now when I'm speaking, I'm a sound source. I'm giving off sound. When I use my tuning fork and I hit it, now it's vibrating and it is a sound source. And I can touch it and it'll stop moving. Now, a sound receiver. Our ears are sound receivers, right? We process or take in sound. It helps us to learn. Tuning fork. I use the tuning fork. A tuning fork helps. It makes a specific tone every single time. So no matter how many times I hit it, this one will always vibrate, move back and forth at the same tone, the same pitch. Okay, identify. That means to know about, right? To learn, to be able to identify or know what something is. Loud and soft. So a lot of people tell me that I'm loud. I have a loud voice. Some people speak very softly, quietly. So that is a quality or a property of sound. Sound can be loud or it can be soft. Okay, we're going to continue learning about sound next time. See you next time, Cougars.